Federal prosecutors have charged in the last few hours the surviving suspect in last week's Boston terror attack. 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev is under armed guard in hospital after being severely wounded in the throat in a shootout with the police. Let's get up to speed on the latest, shall we? From Boston, RT's Anastasia Churkina. Hi there. A little confusion over these charges. They were sealed, I gather. However, some of the information has got out. What do we know?
Kevin, certainly more information about the official charges brought against 19-year-old Dzhokhar Tsarnaev have now surfaced. What we do know is the official complaint against him includes charges of the use of weapons of mass destruction, as well as malicious destruction of property resulting in death. And of course, these are charges that under federal U.S. law would call for a death penalty. We do know that in the state of Massachusetts, where these crimes were committed, there is no death penalty, but it does exist in the federal criminal system, as well as in 32 other states in the U.S. And this is certainly now what Dzhokhar Tsarnaev seems to be facing. Now, it's important to note that we are hearing that he's in fact conscious now. He did awaken last night on Sunday night and was able to answer brief, basic questions from the FBI sporadically in writing. This has been the case for now. He remains in his hospital bed. He is alert and responding to these charges, according to what we are hearing. Now, there has been some kind of confusion and debate, really, in the United States surrounding the fact of the revoking of his Miranda rights, where he would not be informed of the right to remain silent, as well as the right to an attorney. We're not hearing any confirmation as of yet on the ground in terms of whether or not his Miranda rights were read to him. There's no information in terms of whether or not an attorney was actually present when these charges were revealed.
And of course, now the investigators have to establish why an American citizen, his brother, could have allegedly committed what went on here. How are those investigations progressing?
Well, Kevin, the investigation is certainly now going to get into its most intricate stages now that Tsarnaev is finally conscious again, and they're going to be able to ask all of the questions that they have been building up over this last week. We do know that a probable cause hearing has been scheduled for May 30th, but basically what the investigation is now going to have to do is try to trace back their steps, in a sense, because as we know, back in 2011, according to a request from the Russian government, the FBI did in fact look into the identity of the older brother, 26-year-old Tamerlan, to try to establish whether or not he was connected to any sorts of extremist groups on the ground. He was released at that time, and that is certainly a cause for much controversy. People are wondering why it is that this man, who ended up being behind the Boston bombings, was in fact released back in 2011. They're wondering why the FBI didn't keep him on a watch list, at least, to be able to kind of follow his steps that led up to the bombings. Of course, many red flags that seem to have been ignored. He certainly has plenty of questionable videos on his social networking site. And according to some people who knew him, here we hear in Boston that, for example, the mosque that he was part of wanted to even block him from coming in because of his views becoming increasingly radicalized. All of these questions now to be answered by the FBI.
Indeed, Anastasia Churkina in Boston tonight. Thank you.